There's an old saying, good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. Doing the right thing simply for its own sake is surely an important element in any discussion of ethics. But when we speak of codes of conduct for court interpreters, we are not just talking about moral dicta handed down from above, telling us to behave well in our professional lives. One of the great side benefits of adherence to essential ethical principles is that it saves us from acquiring good judgment the hard way. We can exercise good judgment based on the bad experiences of those who have gone before us. The federal judiciary is committed to justice for all. As judiciary interpreters, we fulfill a vital role in the administration of justice. Limited English proficient defendants are legally entitled to the same access to justice as their English-speaking counterparts. The interpreter's sworn duty is to ensure that they receive due process by eliminating the communication barrier that would otherwise interfere with their ability to understand and participate effectively in their case. Inherent in our duty as court interpreter is the obligation not only to provide accurate, faithful, and complete interpretation during all stages of the judicial process, but to perform this duty in an ethical manner that is consistent with the dignity of the court. As interpreters, we are confronted with linguistic challenges that we resolve by drawing on our knowledge, experience, and resources. In addition to linguistic issues, we face ethical dilemmas in and out of the courtroom. The Administrative Office of the United States Courts has established a code of professional conduct entitled Standards for Performance and Professional Responsibility for Contract Court Interpreters in the Federal Courts. It provides a source of guidance to interpreters when facing ethical challenges dealing with interpreter accuracy, representation of qualifications, impartiality, conflicts of interest and remuneration and gifts, professional demeanor, confidentiality, restriction of public comment, scope of practice, assessing and reporting impediments to performance, and duty to report ethical violations. Federal court interpreters must swear to uphold these standards of conduct. In this online course, we will present some hypothetical scenarios involving some of the ethical issues that interpreters must be prepared to resolve. We are going to emphasize the practical aspect and try to show how the ethical code can make your life easier. In the following scenarios, the interpreter is faced with a variety of moral challenges. While you observe each situation, examine the interpreter's performance and interactions, and identify any behavior that you consider ethically inappropriate.
So tell me about the party. Really? Wow. Hold on a second. Hey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Everything is well. Long time no see.
I know. I've been too busy. It's great to see you. Everyone's doing well. Your family?
Everyone is great. How about you?
Yeah, we're all doing really well, thanks.
I'm glad.
Madam Interpreter, can you please review this form with my client while I speak with the prosecutor?
Sure. Let me call you back. Bye-bye. I'll see you later.
Take care.
All right. Okay. Ponga su nombre aquí.
Le pido a mi familia que me busque un abogado. Esta me la buscó el juez.
No me gastes tu dinero. Yo conozco a esta abogada y es muy buena.
The prosecutor just told me they have new wiretap evidence of you telling Reyes where and when the deal was going to go down.
El fiscal estatal cree que tú le dijiste a Reyes dónde iba a hacerse el negocio.
¿Oh, sí? Coño, que me demuestre la prueba. Ya te dije, yo no conozco a ese tipo.
Oh, really? Tell him to show me the evidence. I told you I don't know that guy.
Are you listening to me? They have your voice on tape. You have to stop with this BS.
Tu voz sale en la cinta. No mientas, por favor.
Everyone, please be seated. The judge is about to enter the courtroom.
Hold on a second.
Before the hearing, the interpreter's loud and distracting cell phone conversation exemplifies unprofessional behavior and a violation of courthouse policy which prohibits cell phone use in the courtroom without the judge's permission.
Hey, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Everything is well.
Upon entering the courtroom, rather than identify herself to the courtroom deputy and court reporter and test the audio equipment, she improperly engages in an overtly friendly conversation with the prosecutor, conveying an appearance of bias toward the government. Here is interpreter behavior which promotes respect for the profession and is consistent with the dignity of the court.
Good morning.
Madam Interpreter, can you please review this form with my client?
The court interpreter should not offer or agree to fill out forms or paperwork with the defendant, as that is the responsibility of the defense attorney.
Le pido a mi familia que me busque un abogado. Esta me la buscó el juez.
Court interpreters overstep their bounds when they offer legal advice or explain legal concepts to defendants, witnesses, or their family members. Here is how the interpreter should respond when asked for legal advice or to perform a task that is beyond the scope of her duties.
Good morning,
Good
Madam
morning.
Interpreter. Can you please review this form with my client while I speak to the prosecutor?
Counselor, my role as an interpreter is limited to assisting you in communicating with your client. Would you like me to interpret while you review the form with him?
Yes, thank you. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Le pido a mi familia que me busque un abogado. Esta me la buscó el juez.
Un momento. Counselor, will you please tell your client that I'm only here to interpret and that I am not permitted to offer a personal opinion or give advice?
The prosecutor just told me they have new wiretap evidence of you telling Reyes where and when the deal was going to go down.
During the attorney-client consult, the source language word prosecutor is incorrectly interpreted as DA, a title which refers to a state government prosecutor, not a federal prosecutor. When defense counsel informs her client of new wiretap evidence against him, the interpreter omits any mention of wiretapping in her target rendition. The incomplete and imprecise interpretation into Spanish causes the defendant to misunderstand his counsel's message, and as a result, confusion ensues and the attorney gets annoyed with her client.
I told you I don't know that guy.
Are you listening to me? They have your voice on tape. You have to stop with this BS.
Tu voz sale en la cinta. No mientas, por favor.
The interpreter must preserve the language register and tone of the speaker. If strong or impolite language is used in the source language, the interpreter should render the same tone and not sanitize the speaker's words in the interpretation. The attorney's statement to her client, "You need to stop with this BS," was inaccurately rendered in the target language as, "Please don't lie." This is how accurate interpretation avoids confusion and misunderstanding.
But listen, the prosecutor just told me they have new wiretap evidence of you telling Reyes when and where the deal would go down.
El fiscal me acaba de decir que tienen una nueva prueba obtenida con intervención telefónica en la que usted le dice a Reyes dónde y cuándo va a hacerse el negocio.
Everyone, please be seated. The judge is about to enter the courtroom. All rise. The Honorable Deborah A. Betts presiding.
Good morning. Please be seated. Will the Spanish language interpreter please identify herself for the record?
Good morning, Your Honor. Fiona Rivera, Spanish interpreter.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Is everyone ready to proceed with the continuation of the suppression hearing?
Yes, Your Honor. Our witness, Officer Lopez, is outside of the courtroom.
Please have him come in. Officer Lopez, I remind you that you are still under oath.
Pero recuerda usted que sigue bajo juramento.
Okay. The government may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Lopez, where were you when you were called to go to that location?
Oficial López, ¿dónde estabas tú cuando te llamaron para que fueras a ese lugar?
Estaba patrullando las calles del residencial Llorens Torres cuando me alertaron sobre unas detonaciones en el edificio 112.
I was patrolling the streets of the residential Llorens Torres when I was alerted about detonations in that building.
Officer Lopez, please describe the victim's appearance when you saw him lying there.
Oficial López, describe tú el aspecto de la víctima cuando la viste tirada allí.
Cuando llegué al edificio 112, encontré al occiso tendido en el suelo en un charco de sangre ya sin vida. Tenía contusiones y cortes en la cara.
When I got to the building, I found a dead body lying on the ground, bloody and scratched. He was bruised and cut up all over.
Era fornido, de piel blanca, pelo encaracolado con una ligera calvicie. Representaba tener unos 20 años.
He was a chubby, white-skinned, bald male who appeared to be 20 years old.
Estaba bien vestido, tenía chaqueta de cuero fino, color negro, y maones de marca Desigual.
He was well-dressed, wearing a black jacket and the brand Unequal. ¿Qué son maones?
Maones, jeans.
Jeans.
What else, if anything, did you notice when you found the body?
¿Qué más observaste cuando encontraste el cadáver?
La víctima llevaba varias prendas,
The victim was wearing several articles of clothing.
no clothing, sino jewelry.
I made a mistake. I meant jewelry.
Is that the interpreter's words or the witness's?
It was the interpreter's mistake.
The witness may continue.
Puede continuarla.
Tenía una pantallita, su cadena de oro y un cinturón de cuero de marca Gucci. O sea que tenía pinta de, bueno, para usar la jerga de la calle, tenía pinta de bichote.
He had a little screen, a gold chain, and a Gucci leather belt. He had the look of a big insect, as they would say in street slang.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, Counselor.
this interpreter seems to be having difficulty with the Puerto Rican terms the witness is using. Officer Lopez used the word pantallita, which means little earring in Puerto Rico, not a small screen. Officer Lopez also used the word bichote, which means a big shot drug dealer, but the interpreter literally translated as a big insect.
Your Honor, the problem is that this witness is using horrible Spanish.
Madam Interpreter, is there an interpreter available who is more familiar with Puerto Rican regionalisms?
There might be.
I will have my courtroom deputy call the interpreter's office to request that another interpreter be sent up. We will take a 10-minute break. Officer Lopez, I remind you that you are still under oath.
Throughout this hearing, several details expressed in the source language are either rendered incorrectly, distorted, or not conveyed at all in the interpretation. Here are a few instances.
When I got to the building, I found a dead body lying on the ground, bloody and scratched. He was bruised and cut up all over.
The officer stated building 112 and the interpreter said building without the number. The agent used the Spanish word meaning deceased and the interpreter said dead body, which lowers the level of language. The witness described bruises and cuts on the victim's face, but the interpreter omitted the word face.
Officer Lopez, where were you when you were called to go to that location?
Oficial López, ¿dónde estabas tú cuando te llamaron para que fueras a ese lugar?
The interpreter improperly uses the Spanish familiar pronoun tú to address the witness, which is a more intimate way of addressing people than the polite usted form. Many languages have a formal and informal way of addressing people. The court interpreter should always use the formal register when discharging her official duties, except perhaps when interpreting for children. When addressing the officer, the interpreter succumbs to English language interference when she uses the false cognate oficial rather than accurately addressing him as agente. This is the professional way to address the witness and an accurate rendition of the segment.
Agente López, ¿dónde estaba usted cuando lo llamaron para que acudiera a ese lugar?
Estaba patrullando las calles del residencial Llorens Torres cuando me alertaron sobre unas detonaciones en el edificio 112.
I was patrolling the streets of the residential Llorens Torres when I was alerted about detonations in that building.
The interpreter is unfamiliar with the regional meaning of two words that the witness had used, residencial, which is a public housing complex, and detonaciones, which is the regional way of saying gunshots. She resolves the issue by providing false cognates in her interpretation, conveying an inaccurate message. If the interpreter is unsure of a term or expression used by the witness, she should request the judge's permission to clarify. Here is the correct way of resolving a linguistic issue.
Estaba patrullando las calles del residencial Llorens Torres cuando fui alertado de unas detonaciones en el edificio 112.
Your Honor, may the interpreter request clarification from the witness?
Yes, certainly.
¿Qué es Llorens Torres?
Eso es una vivienda pública.
I was patrolling the streets of the public housing complex Llorens Torres when I was alerted to shots fired in Building 112. Oficial López, describe tú el aspecto de la víctima cuando la viste tirada allí.
Cuando llegué al edificio 112, encontré al occiso tendido en el suelo en un charco de sangre ya sin vida. Tenía contusiones y cortes en la cara.
When I got to the building, I found a dead body lying on the ground, bloody and scratched. He was bruised and cut up all over.
It is generally helpful for interpreters to take notes during witness testimony rather than to rely simply on their working memory. Interpreting at the witness stand can be stressful, and mental stress can negatively impact an interpreter's ability to process and retrieve information. Names and numbers are easily misinterpreted if they are not written down. When necessary, the interpreter should request the judge's permission for a repetition. Now let's see the correct way for an interpreter to intervene in this situation.
Your Honor, the interpreter missed part of the witness's response.
Officer Lopez, will you please repeat your last response for the benefit of the interpreter?
¿Cómo no? Era fornido, de piel blanca, pelo encaracolado con una ligera calvicie. Representaba tener unos 20 años.
If it is necessary for an interpreter to interrupt a witness's lengthy response, an abrupt utterance or conspicuous gesture could affect a jury's perception of the witness's credibility. The interpreter should discreetly signal the witness to pause by using, for example, an unobtrusive hand gesture.
Era fornido, de piel blanca, pelo encaracolado con una ligera calvicie, representaba tener unos 20 años.
He was heavily built, white-skinned, slightly balding, with curly hair, and appeared to be around 20 years old.
Estaba bien vestido, tenía chaqueta de cuero fino color negro y maones de marca Desigual.
He was well dressed, wearing a black jacket and the brand Unequal. ¿Qué son maones?
Maones, jeans.
Jeans.
The interpreter does not understand the regional term for jeans that is used by the witness. She inappropriately initiates a dialogue with the witness rather than requesting the judge's permission to have the witness clarify. In his testimony, the witness mentions the brand name Desigual, but rather than leaving a proper name in its original language, the interpreter renders the translation of the word, changing the witness's response to unequal. Proper names should be maintained, not interpreted into the target language.
What else, if anything, did you notice when you found the body?
¿Qué más observaste cuando encontraste el cadáver?
By inserting the phrase, if anything, in his question to the witness, the prosecutor's question does not assume a fact. The omission of, if anything, in the interpreter's rendition does not match the attorney's unobjectional construction. Here, the interpreter renders the proper name correctly and conserves the unobjectional element of the prosecutor's question to the witness.
He was well dressed, wearing a black genuine leather jacket and the brand Desigual jeans.
What else, if anything, did you notice when you found the body?
¿Qué más observó, si es que usted observó algo más, cuando encontró el cadáver?
La víctima llevaba varias prendas,
The victim was wearing several articles of clothing.
no clothing, sino jewelry.
I made a mistake. I meant jewelry.
Is that the interpreter's words or the witness's?
When an interpreter needs to correct something that she has said on the record, it is important to make clear that it is the interpreter's correction and not the witness's. This is the correct way for an interpreter to intervene.
The victim was wearing several articles of clothing.
No clothing, sino jewelry.
Your Honor, the interpreter would like to make a correction. The witness said several pieces of jewelry, not clothing.
The record will reflect that correction. The witness may continue.
Continúa, por favor.
Frequent interpreter requests for repetitions during witness testimony may be due to the interpreter's unfamiliarity with the subject matter or the witness's idiolect, in which case the interpreter should bring that to the attention of the court. Although it is clear that the interpreter's unfamiliarity with Puerto Rican regionalisms is an impediment to the rendering of accurate interpretation, she continues to perform incompetently. This is an appropriate way for the interpreter to handle the situation.
Tenía pantallita, una cadena de oro y un cinturón de cuero de marca Gucci. O sea que tenía pinta de, bueno, para usar la jerga de la calle, pinta de bichote.
Your Honor, may the interpreter address the court?
Yes, certainly.
Your Honor, I just moved to New York from the West Coast, and I'm having difficulty understanding some of the Puerto Rican terms that this witness is using. With Your Honor's permission, I would like another Spanish interpreter to replace me.
Madam Interpreter, is there an interpreter available who is more familiar with Puerto Rican regionalisms?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe that there is.
Oye, mija, ¿qué pasó ahí adentro?
Llámame más tarde a mi celular y te cuento.
Ha sido una gran ayuda. Toma mi tarjeta.
Ven a nuestro restaurante en Washington Heights, cortesía de la casa.
¡Ay, qué bueno! Quizás este fin de semana. Gracias.
Madam Interpreter, would you happen to know a Portuguese interpreter who could meet me at the jail tomorrow?
I'm federally certified in Spanish and Portuguese. I will be available.
That's great.
Here's my card.
Thank you. You interpreted for the co-defendant in this case, right?
Yes.
Do you know if he's pled guilty?
He has, yesterday before the magistrate.
Okay, great, thanks. I'll
You're
see
welcome.
you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I see that the proceeding is over.
Finished.
Excuse me, do you know if there's going to be a trial in this case?
I certainly hope not. This guy is guiltier than sin. Oh, you're from the press?
Yes. Do you think you have a couple of minutes to discuss this case with me?
Sure.
Oye, mija, ¿qué pasó ahí adentro?
Llámame más tarde mi celular y te cuento.
Ha sido una gran ayuda. Toma mi tarjeta. Ven a nuestro restaurante en Washington Heights, cortesía de la casa.
¡Ay, qué bueno! Quizás este fin de semana. Gracias.
Following the hearing, the interpreter engages in conversation with the defendant's wife. As the interpreter's duty is limited to facilitating communication between two people who do not speak a common language, it is improper for her to have a private conversation with the defendant or his family members. The manner in which the interpreter and defendant's wife communicate and the interpreter's offer to explain details about her husband's case can clearly be perceived as bias toward the defense. In addition, the interpreter's acceptance of a gift, in this case a free meal, is clearly a violation of the interpreter code of conduct. Here is how these exchanges should be handled.
Oye, mija, ¿qué pasó ahí adentro?
Un momento. Counselor, your client's wife has some questions about what just transpired.
Okay.
¿Cuándo va a ser la próxima vez que tengo que venir para
¿Cuándo es la próxima cita? No, hasta fines de marzo.
Ha sido una gran ayuda. Toma mi tarjeta. Ven a nuestro restaurante en Washington Heights, cortesía de la casa.
Gracias, pero como intérprete judicial se me prohíbe aceptar su invitación.
Ay, perdón. Gracias.
De nada.
Madam Interpreter, do you know a Portuguese interpreter who could meet me at the jail tomorrow?
I'm federally certified in Spanish and Portuguese. I'm available.
The Administrative Office of the United States Courts only certifies interpreters in 3 languages: Spanish, Haitian Creole, and Navajo. And currently, exams for Haitian Creole and Navajo are not offered. When the interpreter tells the attorney that she is federally certified in Portuguese, for which there is no certification exam, she misrepresents her qualifications. Contract interpreters of languages other than Spanish, Haitian Creole, and Navajo are district approved to work before the court, not certified. If an interpreter has passed a New York State or State of New Jersey qualifying exam, she is a registered interpreter for those states, and she should not represent herself as state certified. Here, the interpreter responds appropriately.
Madam Interpreter, do you know a Portuguese interpreter who could go with me to the jail tomorrow morning?
I hold federal certification in Spanish, and I am registered in the New York and New Jersey state courts in Portuguese and SDNY approved. I will be available.
Oh, great.
Here's my card.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You interpreted for the co-defendant in this case, right?
Yes.
Do you know if he's pled guilty?
He has, yesterday before the magistrate.
Okay, great, thanks. I'll
You're
see you
welcome.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Court interpreters should treat all information that is revealed during the course of their duties as privileged, and they should not disclose any information of a confidential nature to other interpreters, attorneys, the defendant's family members, or to anyone else. This is how the interpreter should respond when asked if the co-defendant has pled guilty.
You interpreted for the co-defendant in this case, right?
Yes.
Do you know if he pled guilty?
Counselor, you know I'm required to protect the confidentiality of all privileged information.
Of course. Thanks. I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you.
Excuse me, do you know if there's going to be a trial in this case?
I certainly hope not. This guy is guiltier than sin.
A court interpreter is prohibited from publicly discussing or reporting information learned or revealed to her during the course of her work. Federal court interpreters are not permitted to talk to the press about cases they are working on or about their interpreting experiences in general, unless they receive express authorization from the clerk of court or district executive.
Oh, you're from the press?
Yes. Do you think you have a couple of minutes to discuss this case with me?
Sure.
If an interpreter believes that she or one of her colleagues has not complied with the interpreter's code of conduct, it is the interpreter's duty to report the ethical violation to her supervisor. If the supervisor concludes that there was in fact an ethical violation, the appropriate judicial authority must be informed. Here is an example of ethically correct conduct.
Excuse me, do you know if there's going to be a trial in this case?
I'm not permitted to comment about this or any other case.
My apologies, I'm sorry.
This module has addressed some ethically sensitive situations that court interpreters commonly encounter during the course of their work. When faced with other ethical dilemmas that may not be so clear-cut because of their inherent subtleties, it is wise to seek the guidance of the supervisory interpreter and seasoned colleagues. A solid understanding of the court interpreter's code of conduct, your experience, and reliance on the support from colleagues and supervisors will prepare you for any ethical issue that may arise. We have included a quiz in this module to help you measure your understanding of the material presented. Upon completion, you will be awarded an Ethics Orientation Course Certificate of Completion, which this district's supervisory interpreter will sign. Thank you for participating.